Welcome to Unshakable with Human Design, the show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs use human design to shift from hustle to flow without sacrificing results. Come here to become an unshakable human and build an unshakable business according to your human design. I'm your host, Nicole Lano. Welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast, your weekly dose of strategies and mindset tools to build a business in alignment with your purpose and get you playing a bigger game. I'm your host, Nicole Lano. Hello, and welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Lano, and I am here today with my friend and very special guest, Mellissa Seaman. So Mellissa is a Stanford-educated business lawyer. That was until her intuitive abilities awakened her with the birth of her daughter in the year 2000. Now she bridges the worlds of business strategy and intuitive intelligence. And I am so excited because that's our jam here. So I was just like, when we met, I was like, we vibe. You have to be on my show. I was on your show.
Yes.
So I'm so excited to have you here. Fill everybody in on who you are and what I didn't cover in all of that.
Oh, thank you. Well, you kind of got it. That's my bridge. I was a Stanford-educated lawyer, and then I accidentally got psychic. And since then, I've been helping sort of successful business people who need to open more to their intuitive abilities, and then helping intuitives become really successful business people. So that's the bridge. And I love that we share that bridge. I love that we're here because we care not only about the deep spirit, intuitive meaning and depth and incredible evolution we're involved in, but also we want it to land in the real world. Like, let's do a thing with real people. Yay.
For sure. No, and that's the thing too. It's like you do need both.
Yeah.
You need both. I always say, you need the energetic part, or you're going to be miserable, because the strategy doesn't typically, it's not the path of like super duper happiness. It's like, nobody really wants to work that way. There's just this end goal in mind. So we push ourselves down this path, and it's not necessarily the path that we feel will be the most joyful for us, or lead to the best life. We can sometimes get tunnel vision on like the goal and miss like the really big picture. And without the strategy, you're running in circles and you're maybe doing things that aren't going to give you the results that you want. So it is important.
Yeah.
And I love, because I know that there are people there's a person listening to this show right now who's like, I don't believe in the whole like psychic angels thing. Like I believe in the power of the mind, because that's usually the first step is going like, okay, I get that mindset affects the way that I operate. And then there's the person that's kind of like, but don't start talking to me about angels and guides and all of that stuff. But they're hearing more and more about it. And they're hearing more and more normal people, quote unquote, normal people like them talking about it. Right. So what's been your experience with it? You said that it came with the birth of your daughter.
Yeah. And I hadn't believed in all that woo-woo stuff. I did not believe in that stuff. I was a Catholic. I was a leader in my Catholic church. So I had my way of praying. I had my way of listening. I had my intuitive, creative self. Like I've always been somewhat intuitive and creative, but I certainly didn't go in for like, all the woo stuff. The aliens and the interdimensional and the, all that stuff. I didn't believe in astrology, yoga seemed a little iffy to me. Like there's just things were just like, come on, get real, and I've always felt like, come on, get real. And spirit, my own personal connection with spirit was always there in the forest with trees, with creeks, but it was very personal. We didn't talk about it. Did I ever feel like my great-grandmother kind of came and visited me? Yeah, I imagine that, but I wasn't going to talk about it. I wasn't going to pretend like that was real. And so when I gave birth to Clarice, and it was like this ecstatic birth that I didn't think was possible too. It was just really fast and ecstatic, and it just blew me open. And then suddenly I'm really seeing the ancestors and spirit and layers of people's energy on their body, and and able to send good energy with real effect really fast. And I was like, oh no, are you telling me this stuff is real? Oh crap. I still remember when someone gave me my first astrology reading and I was like, well, they wouldn't have known that about me. Like I was, even though I was working as a professional intuitive, I was still like, no way, astrology is real. Like, so every layer has been almost an argument with my lawyer self. And certainly when I first started seeing energy, the what used to be invisible is very real, but invisible to most. And then I could see it. It made sense intrinsically inside of me. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense that people have layers of energy, that things from the past are still with them, that, you can see when they were hurt or when they learned a big lesson in their life, that information is readable in their system, like, inside of me, that makes sense. But when expressing that to like my friends in my church or my parents, it's like, they were like, whoa, what are you talking about? That. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? I thought this stuff was fake too. Turns out it's real. They hadn't made that shift in perspective. And so I still, honestly, I've worked with a couple of tech geniuses, founder types from Silicon Valley, for example, who did not believe in woo stuff, did not use that language. And so we just found whatever language suited them. Great. Okay. What do you believe in? Well, I believe in this mycelial consciousness that I experienced when I was on mushrooms and when I was trying ayahuasca. And I'm like, okay, that. So what word do you want to use for that? Well, let's call it the oneness or something. Okay, let's call it the oneness. Okay. Now, how about the guidance you got from that source? Well, I actually kind of hear it all the time now. Okay, what do you want to call that? Well, I just call it my inner voice. Great, let's call it your inner voice. When I went to Indiana and I was working with a doctor, had me come out there and work with all of her patients because she got a session and she got such huge results. She's like, I'm just going to have you work with all my patients. I was like, okay. So she flew me out to Indiana, and it was a very, very Christian, red town. And I was like, wow, I wonder what'll happen. Like, and what happened was a lot of them came like wearing hoodies and sunglasses because they didn't want people to know they were going to go see the weird spirit healer lady. But once they were there, they were open. And part of what happened was I'd sit down and I go, okay, well, first, like, how do you relate with the creator? And they say, well, that's, I work with Jesus Christ as my savior and my Lord. And I'm like, great, let's invoke Jesus. Oh, you're willing to invoke Jesus? I'm like, why wouldn't I? Jesus is like, Jesus, we're talking about Jesus right now. Oh, I assumed you wouldn't do that. And I just thought, God is way too big for us to decide that certain labels work and certain labels don't work. So if what we're looking for is direct connection to the divine, let's use whatever metaphor, whatever name, whatever religious construct, whatever non-religious construct, whatever atheist, pseudo-science, neuro-hacking, frickin' I don't care. I'm a messenger on the Soul Gift Quiz. I will translate this stuff however you need to hear it, because it's not about me. It's about each one of us and how we want to relate to the mystery that we all hear kind of occasionally giving us a hint or tickling the backs of our necks, or, that there is something there. Call it what you will. There's something there, and it's our birthright to connect with that and to utilize that.
I love that you brought that up about, about the labels, because I said this in a call the other day, talking with my clients about this, because there are some people who are like too far, and then some that are like, no, give it all to me. And I was saying, I from the time I was a child, I was always drawn to church, but I was drawn to church because I felt like I felt something bigger. I knew I was connected to it. And I remember, I remember feeling this, I don't care what I call it. It doesn't matter what I call it. And I remember feeling like, and I don't need to be in church to connect to it. And I don't like, I liked going to church because there was something about that place, but it didn't only happen there. It was something that lived in me and all around me. And that's just something I've always had. And that's why I use the term the universe. Only because I don't want to exclude anybody when I'm talking generally. I don't want to be like Jesus, because there are people who connect to the divine through another terminology. And I don't want to make people feel like that's less valid, because it's whatever opens the gates inside of you for you, go with it, because there's nothing but goodness on the side of believing in something that is calling you to your highest and truest good for all.
Excellent. Yes. High five.
High five. Virtual high five.
Yes. I'm totally with you. That's so true.
So let's dive into a little bit about your strategic side of things, but kind of bringing this all together, because you have very strategic processes that you take people through where you help them build their business, but then you're helping them also figure out what is their soul gift. So I guess the first question I have for you is, does everybody have one? Is everybody gifted in some way?
We totally
is everybody,
do.
Having the perspective that you have, what are the differences that you see? And what are the differences? Because I'll say from my own experience, I don't see things. I have at times, but I'm not able to see. But I've always had this inner knowing. I've always had, I feel a lot. I can feel energy change, and I can feel energy change in me and around me. And I can feel like the answer. So if I ask a question, I can feel into that answer. And sometimes I will get I learned that the intuitive thoughts that I have, or just when something pops into my mind, is the way that, the intuition, the guidance is speaking to me. But what is your perspective on the ways that people experience this, and how their gifts show up, and how you work with people?
So I love systems. Like you and I share that. We like to be organized as well as inspired. And the 5 soul gift types came to me through my guidance when I started doing a lot of long distance, deep clearing and reading work with people. And it's helpful. I thought, I don't want to waste time. These people, they're paying me $1,000 for an hour. And that was back then. I want to make sure that I get right into what they need to know and clarify their gifts for them and their purpose, and show them the path forward that can make the money or whatever they're looking for. So I talk to my guides, and I do this a lot. I negotiate with my guides because I'm a lawyer. I'm like, all right, here's the deal. What I want is for you guys to give me some essential pieces of information about my client before I get on the phone. So we created this little shorthand kind of typing system. And that's the 5 soul gift types. And it's really it's not your personality. It's not about just your personality or how you were trained or, who raised you. It's what you came in with, your soul gift type. It's what you came in with. And there's these 5 types that were revealed to me. And gosh darn it, they've helped so many people. So I want to share them with you guys. So one type, my type, is the messenger type, right? And we like to translate. We can translate and teach, and we just, words are so important to us. And if you interrupt us, a messenger type, even as a child, if you silence us or interrupt us, we get very grumpy, very grumpy. And what we really want is to be understood, to have what we're speaking understood lights us up like nothing else. So that's a messenger type. And then there's the transmitter type. The transmitter type is a magical emanation of a being. So whereas a messenger kind of has a role to play, and I'll tell you about creators too, they have their own role to play. A transmitter is here to emanate a certain energy on the planet. So sometimes they know that people change around them. People just change. If you're around a transmitter, you will change. You will feel their juju. Sometimes if you sit next to a transmitter on the bus, you'll just stand up feeling better. unless you're such a grumpy poop, or you really are not, you're not into evolution, you don't want to get better. Sometimes transmitters are very irritating to people who want to stay stuck in the past, because transmitters literally hold an energy of evolution. And so I work with a lot of transmitters, these magical types, because they have so much to bring the planet right now without speaking, without doing anything. But we need to get them a role where they can actually transmit and be heard and felt and paid. Because a lot of transmitters hardly care about money. They know that's not what's important. And so they end up kind of poor and invisible, leading a yoga class or doing massage therapy or something where they can give their transmission, but people don't understand the importance of what they're bringing. So I work with a lot of transmitters because they're the ones who need a business strategy like more than any other type. And then there's, do you want to say anything about that before?
No, keep going.
So then there's creators. Creators are the types where even as a kid, they act like they created the world. Like they know everything. They seem to look around their world and go, oh yeah, that. Oh yeah, that. And they're often talking to other people like, can't you see it? Don't you understand it? Because they intrinsically understand complex systems. They usually do well with money and business and complex systems like that. And they come off a little bit like know-it-alls, because intrinsically they do. When they get really quiet inside, they actually know. They just know already. They shouldn't know, but they do. And I call them creators not because they're the most creative, but because it's like they were here. They were one of the creators on the planet when it was built. That's how it seems, even when they're kids. So that's creators. And then there's researchers, who are the type of souls who come in to watch and to like gather the data. And so these are our friends who they seem like they're not as emotional, but they do have deep emotions. They're just really not swayed by them. And they're able to look at the world and go, oh, well, that's a fact. There's an actual fact. This is objectively true. And they're calm about it. And we should be listening to our researchers more right now, quite frankly, because people are being swayed by so many facts that are supposed to be facts and aren't really facts. And our researchers just look and go, well, there it is. You know, it's just plain as day. And they notice everything. And so I realized my son's a researcher because he, even as a little boy, we could walk into a store and then walk out and I'd say, oh, you know what? I didn't see if they had tomatoes or something. He's like, yes, they did. They were in the far left-hand corner. I'm like, oh, thanks, Colin. Like he just noticed everything. He noticed things about people, discrepancies, very discerning. And then there's an
observer.
Yes,
kind of.
Exactly. And they love video games a lot because video games are a world that makes sense, whereas this world does not. Mm-hmm. So, and then finally there's our explorers, and our explorer friends are the ones who are like buying a Sprinter van, outfitting it, and traveling around the country solo. They just, you know, they're getting into alternative forms of relationships and alternative forms of relating and alternative forms of everything because they're here to push the boundaries of culture and of even being human. They're, you know, rock climbing and even if they're more stable in a family or something, they're always thinking thoughts that are on the edges and sharing things that are on the edges and pushing the edges open. So each one of these types as a soul family or soul type comes here to expand us in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And when you know what your soul gift type is, you can quit trying to be one of the other types so much. And it is usually experienced as a profound relief and validation to learn your soul gift type and go, okay, that's why.
Yeah. I mean, it resonates so much and it always has it, but it resonates so much. I coach using human design. So there's a similar feeling to that that people get, where they're like, it gives you permission to do what's truly in alignment for you and has always felt right. And to say, the hell with everything else. I know this about me. It's that I'm hesitant to use the term validation only because that seems like there's such a negative connotation with that right now. Like, I'm seeking validation, but it's the confirmation of everything that you've always known, that you've walked around this world being like, I know that this is who I am, but I should do this. I should do that. This is what, and there's so much noise out there right now. Everybody's telling you that this way is the way. And so to be able to have that strength of saying, nope, I knew this my whole life. I've known it from the time I was a child. And like, I was like, that's part of the work that I do, is like bring you back to the knowing. And I love that you've created this system with these particular archetypes where, you know, you can take your quiz and be able to understand yourself on that deeper level. And like you said, feel seen and feel that confirmation that you've been like, no, this really is what I'm here to do. I'm not crazy. I'm not self-indulgent, you know, which I think is what some of us, you know, like, I'm not, you know, there's this feeling that if we lean into what makes us special and even admit that we have special gifts, we're telling the world that we're special, which maybe the younger generations now don't have as much of a problem with that. But I grew up in a time where the worst thing that anyone could call you was conceited and full of yourself. And that feeling of, you know, that people are going to judge you for owning your space and owning who you are. So there's a big part of this is coming home to that.
Absolutely. And I love these systems.
I took your quiz and I'm trying to remember what I was. I think I was a transmitter, but
I think you were too.
I wonder
if I have you in here. I think you were a transmitter. I want to say you're a transmitter creator. So there's, you know, like everything, there's like your primary gift that kind of nails you. And that's what you get when you take the quiz at soulgiftquiz.com. But then you can also sense that you might have a secondary gift, like, if one's in second place, it's probably this one. And I actually have a secondary gift quiz too. That's part of my Genius Revealer thing. But that's what I'm guessing, because it feels like you understand systems from the inside. And when I like sense what you bring through, you have that connection between the expansive spiritual aspects and here's how you use this to create wealth here. Here's how you do this to create systems here. And that's a really valuable thing. And I was going to say too, are you a projector? I'm trying to remember.
I'm a manifesting generator.
You're a manifesting generator. Okay. So that would make sense too. Even though I love human design and I'm a projector, which is probably why I think everybody's projectors. I don't know, but like, it's fun to layer. So projectors, I keep noticing projectors who come to work with me who are like creator projectors are able to reflect for people their best systems. And then like transmitter projectors are often so high frequency that it's hard for them to be in the world, you know, and then messenger projectors like me tend to end up like in the role of oracle or truth sayer. Like, so it's fascinating when you start layering, and then you can layer, you know, astrology and the gene keys and the like, boom, 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 boom. And pretty soon you're like, okay, this is why I'm freaky. I am no longer ashamed of being freaky. And now I'm willing to make great money being the freak that I am, effortlessly, easily doing the stuff that comes to me so naturally instead of trying so hard to do whatever they put me through school for.
Yeah. And I mean, amen to that. But it's like what I see people get stuck with all the time is they've learned a lot of stuff, school programs, coaching, whatever. And, you know, you get a system from somebody. This is how you do it. Now there is construct strategy, where this is a strategy that works. You're
Sure.
going to, you like, and it's very basic in those terms of like, you have your quiz where you teach people how to build out a quiz and use that as a lead generation and funnel after that. But what they put in it is the part that has to come from them.
Yes.
So you put so much emphasis on the strategy,
form.
the webinar,
That's right.
this, and where everybody
That's
gets stuck
not
is
the most important thing.
you sign up for the thing, you spend thousands of dollars, and they're like, here's how you do it. And it's like, but what do I say in the
Here's
webinar?
a framework, but what's inside the frame? What's the artwork? And what should I be focusing on that is perfect fit for me? And no one else can bring it. And I have to bring it. What I've noticed working with like really soul inspired people, and you probably have too, is that if they don't focus on the thing their soul is here to do, their deeper self sabotages them for years. Like it won't let them create the wealth and the ease and the success. It feels to them like they're being cursed or sabotaged. And I'm like, that's you cursing you, because you're not focusing where you know. Sometimes you don't know. That's the thing. Sometimes it's hidden. What am I really here to do? Sometimes you really need someone like us to go, this is you. This is what you're here for. And that's so much of what I do in VIP days and in my academy is like, we really need to focus on the right things so that we have our souls behind us, so that we have our full power and our full invisible team who came here to help us do what we're here to do. We want access to all that stuff. We want all the goodies, and we want it to be easeful and effortless and not like a struggle. And the most important foundational thing, you're absolutely right, is to choose the right business to do that's an absolute fit for you.
That's how you create consistency. And
right?
the big complaint that I hear from people is, like, I can't be consistent. I don't know. And, consistent is such a big word. Consistent with what? What consistency do you want?
That's the
more
question.
Important to be consistent in your energy and who you are, so that every time people encounter you, whether it's once a week, once a month, every day, whatever that frequency is of it, that when they encounter you, they're like, this, I know I will get this from her. I know who she is. She's always making me think. She's always giving me new strategies. She's always like, but that has to be true to you. That's or your better part, your higher self is going to, I picture her like sulking in a corner. Like, you do this without me. And I've already told you that that's not what I'm doing. So no, you're going to have to play my way if you want me on board with you.
Totally.
So I love it all. And so tell everybody, where can they take your quiz to find out what their soul gift is?
So take the quiz at soulgiftquiz.com, SOUL giftquiz.com. And it's just a 7-question fun picture quiz, but it's been nailing people for 10 years now. And thousands of people have taken it and gotten back to me with these big thank yous, like, oh my God, I've never had a quiz that nailed me so fast. And then if you choose to opt in, you can opt in and give me your email if you want to, or you can skip that step. I've always felt like I don't need people on my list who don't want to be there. There's plenty of people who really get curious. So if you get curious about this, when you see what your result is, you can, sign up. And then I will send you information about your type. And what does that mean? And what does that mean for business? And what does that mean for relationships? And there's so much there, to learn about. And it is a really great first step for people who are like, I wonder if I am focused on the right thing. And, if I had guessed my type 20 years ago, before I kind of popped open, if somebody had given me these 5 categories, I would have guessed that I was a creator, because I went to Stanford, I went to law school. That's what I was trained. That's what I was encouraged to be. And when I learned that I was actually a messenger with a transmitter secondary, in other words, like a kind of a sacred messenger person, it broke me open. It was like, oh, of course I am. Duh. Like that's what I was before everybody told me what to be. And so this can be a really healing experience. And that's why I love sharing it. It's like, it's our birthright. It's literally our birthright to acknowledge what gift we came here with, and how to live a life that's more easeful by relaxing into that gift instead of struggling against it, working against your own gift.
And there's a lot of language out there that talks about, like work less, make more. And you hear
Right.
that a lot, but that's really what it's about. It's about when you do the things that are aligned for you, they come easier. It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
You can work the 4-hour day because it's not hard. You're not working against your grain.
Because some things you just do better than other people, and you don't even understand why other people find them hard.
Exactly.
When you're doing those things, you're providing incredible value, more value than you could ever provide your community struggling against your gift. When you align with it, what flows through you is effortless because it's flowing through you. That's why my business is called Channel Your Genius. It's like, I really believe we're all naturally channels. We're naturally conduits. It doesn't mean we have to roll our eyes back in our heads and
speak in tongues,
talk in tongues all the time. That's one form of bringing energy through. But instead, it's like a creator channels their genius by bringing a new organizational principle into the world. A messenger channels their genius by translating wisdom into the world. A transmitter channels their genius by emanating a healing evolutionary vibe in their world. And so we're all channels. The key is to identify what you're really here to channel, and then to open the heck up and get out of the way so that it can flood through you and bless you and enrich you and delight you. Because that's how it can feel that way. It really can.
Well, and because all the answers that you're listening to this podcast, looking for an answer to something or looking for something to inspire you, you're reading books, you're taking programs, you're doing all these things, looking for the answer to your problem. But that's where it lies. It lies in you living your truth. Yeah. So something that seems very strategic and like there's some answer out there in a book of whether to work one-on-one with people or have a group program or have a digital course. That's a question that you know the answer to. You're resisting the answer because you're not living in alignment with who you really are.
Right.
When you ask that question from a place of what am I meant to do right now in this moment? What's right for me? You will know exactly what that answer is if you aren't dealing with a lot of interference of you fighting who you are, the messages that come through, the guidance that you're getting. If you are the clear channel, those answers are there.
When you're clear, in your own unique way. Might not look like me, might not look like Nicole. It's your own unique way of channeling. That is so one of my rants, because I was a business lawyer and I helped people start businesses then, and I knew at that point, there's not just one way to do anything. There's all these different structures and strategies and ideas. And some structures and strategies do work better for certain types of people, but you still can't just categorize. And so when I realized that most business coaches in our space are not really selling guidance to walk your own individual path, they're mostly selling like a prepackaged strategy. I thought, well, that's messed up. That's going to trap people in something that doesn't suit them. And when I created my academy for intuitively gifted people to create businesses or to grow their businesses, that was one of my main things, is like, oh, there needs to be so many different pathways, because we're talking about creatives and Renaissance people who cannot be trapped or bored. Yeah, they do need what I call an umbrella brand, like you were mentioning earlier. Yeah. They do need an umbrella brand that encompasses all the things they do and gives people a focus where it's like, oh, this is my person for this. And they probably need a niche too. It's like an entry problem. But then it's like the sky's the limit, and we have to stay creative and keep thinking outside the box so that your soul can express in the unique way it came to express and draw the people that your soul came here to touch and affect in ways that feel delicious and not pushy and not salesy. That stuff just doesn't work for sensitive people. It's like torture. So
no, if you can do it for a while, you won't do it for long. It's not going to have sustaining power.
We have our own gifts of empathy and compassion and understanding and guidance. And we have to, it works. business works for us when we're leveraging that stuff and taking full advantage of it.
I think that's the point to leave it on, is that feeling of that when you lean into your gifts, all the other stuff that you're getting of it has to be this way. There is nothing that locked me up more and kept me from excelling and experiencing abundance and flow and all those things. Like when I would stop in the moment and be like, but the right way is for me to do it this way. The right way is for me to do it that way. This person said this was the way. Or I would Google the answers because I was looking because I didn't trust myself.
Horrible.
And it's gridlock and pain.
It's so overwhelming too.
And then you just put it out the way that it feels good to you, the way that you're kind of guided to, that goes against all the rules, and stuff comes. It comes in unexpected ways. And then you believe in the magic of it all. And you can lean into it and you can be like, oh, wow, look at how if I play with this and I step out this way, oh my goodness, that worked too. I never saw that coming.
Yeah.
And
it's
when you
fun
never
to
see
be
it
in
coming,
a community like yours or like mine, where you can share those things and go, you know what works for us? You know, what can work for us is this other way. I tried it this way, and this really works for us because it leverages our compassion. It leverages our empathy. It leverages our gifts. Like, we can do it this other way. We don't have to do business as usual.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Well, guys, we will link it all up in the show notes. So it's Soul Gift Quiz, right? That's the link. We will link all of that up in the show notes so that you can stay in touch. Definitely take this quiz. And Melissa's email list is amazing to be on. She writes such fun emails and cool different topics and exposes you to lots of different things. So I highly recommend clicking the subscribe to the email list button as well when you do the quiz. But Mellissa, do you have any last words that you want to say to the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, just like these are wild times, especially if you are a sensitive or empathic being. And just know that you're not alone, and know that your gifts, your unique gift, can carry you through this. And it's the perfect time to be focusing on what you're really here to do so that you can be this calm, empowered center in the storms that are raging.
Beautiful. Thank you. And where can they stay in touch with you? I know they'll take the quiz. Is there anywhere else?
That's actually the easiest way. If you go take the quiz at soulgiftquiz.com, then you'll have direct access to me. You could reply to any of the emails that you get from me, and, we can have conversations, and you'll get lots of goodies. And that's the best place to go right there. Yeah.
Awesome. We will have all of that in the show notes. You can just click on over and be magically transported over to the quiz and to Mellissa. Mellissa, thank you for being here. This was so fun.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you, listener, for making it all the way to the end of this episode with us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Remember, you are only limited by the limitations that you accept. And when you stop accepting those limitations, that is when you become limitless. So go out there and be limitless, everyone. We'll see you next time. If you loved this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you want to stay in touch with us, we would love to have you as a part of our Facebook community, Practical Manifestors. It's a community for process-driven women looking for clear and actionable steps to embodying a life of wealth and alignment. Join us at Practical Manifestors in Facebook, or go to www.innerceogroup.com. If you love this episode and you're a fan of the show, please show us the love on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the show, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with other entrepreneurs on their human design journey, join our free Facebook community, Human Design for Entrepreneurs. Go to nicolelano.me/podcast links to join the group, book a human design reading with me, or access our free human design resources. We'll see you there.